So I'm going to try and do this in one quick take so that I don't bore you too much. I'm just going to start it here quickly. You are on 129 CS at 22 minutes 55. If I skip forward to where I think this relevant section is, you are now on 136 CS at 26:37. So granted, not a great amount of time, but only 7 CS in that is not ideal. You really want to be making sure you keep that CS up outside of lane phase. Your lane phase CS was okay. Post lane phase is where you really need to focus and make sure you're keeping those numbers up, because it really will help you hit those next item spikes. So this is really important. Yasuo is far too pushed up, and I'll let it play. Yasuo is just going to get collapsed on by all 5 members of their team. There's nothing you can do about this, and it's obviously not your fault. What is important is how you respond to this. So the biggest thing here to note is that there is no dragon to take, and they are on 3 dragons, so that's really important. You need to make sure they don't get this Cloud Soul. There is a Baron to take, so you could be concerned that they're going to go straight there. At this elo, they probably won't, and in this game they don't. But the main thing you should be controlling is this central area. You can try and defend this turret. The 3 of you here should be enough to at least kind of fend them off until you get back up. And Kha'Zix has now spawned, so you probably have enough to hold the turret as best you can. What actually happens is Senna spots Darius in a second with her scrying bloom thing, and tries to get a pick. Darius is in no way the person you want to pick here. He has about 3,000 health, and you're never going to burst him down. Senna is so scared of him to the point that she will flash away when Pyke hooks him in. Like, that's how not a fight this is. And you guys are effectively 3v5 here. You don't know that Set's gone back to base. But Kha'Zix is over here. This is not something you can fight. There's 2 big points to this fight. Big point number 1 happens here. You fire out your ult. This isn't going to achieve anything. You're not going to be able to pick anyone. It's not going to save Senna. It doesn't help you at all. It just gives you a 71-second cooldown on your ult, which means it's not going to be available for any other defense that you might have. The second thing is you take this as a cue to step forward. And it doesn't seem like a big deal, but you're almost half health already. And when Caitlyn fires her Q, you are now dropped below 500. That's a big deal. You don't have any lifesteal items in this build, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. The bad thing is the fact that you can no longer stay on the map. This mid turret is now almost certainly dead because these minions are pushed up on their own. They've taken it down below half health, and these guys can walk up and take it. There's only 3 of you left. You're not defending it now. You try and go B, but you spot this ward and realise Kayn would kill you if you stuck around, so you correctly, I think, decide to keep walking. The biggest problem here is that you decide to rejoin this fight. You are on just over 500 health. Caitlyn ult does 782 damage, that will kill you. Lux ult does 582 damage, that will also kill you. Those are just the things that can kill you from range. Kayn ult will almost one-shot you as well. The big problem here is you have no way of supporting your team on this life. Anyone can just fire something at you and you will ambiently die. You need to go back to base, get yourself healed, and come back out to defend this second turret. I've done this in the previous video, but I won't do it here. In the time that you spend lurking around here, not achieving anything and not doing any damage, you actually could have walked back to base and walked back onto the map. You don't have any money to spend, but that's not the point. You would be back to full health, and they still haven't crashed on this turret. They don't have the wave that they need to be able to defend it, or to be able to push the turret. You would be back here on full health, and this would not happen. If this doesn't happen, or even if it does happen, you would either have had ult to be able to defend yourself, kill Kayn under turret, they then lose that pressure they're about to have to get this dragon, or alternatively, he doesn't try that at all, and you can successfully defend this turret. As it stands, you started this fight at 50k to 42k. At this point in the fight, you guys dip all the way down. If I fast forward, you got your team. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit here. Your team basically ints from this point. You guys lose this mid turret because they're fighting badly. You then lose the inhibitor turret because again, your team is not doing very well, and Pyke decides that chasing is a good idea. So you lose this inhibitor turret, and then you lose the inhibitor. That spirals everything. You are basically back to even gold at that point, and the game is effectively going to be over because the Caitlyn is now back in the game, and you're the only person on your team that really has any carry capability. The other last thing I'm going to point out, just before I stop this, is you've successfully managed to kill Darius. You've cleared them out your base a little bit. Your next move here... Oops, that's not what I wanted at all. Your next move here should be thinking, we need this dragon. What you do is you walk up to top lane. And having just said you need to get farm throughout the game, this might seem a bit hypocritical, but this was not the point to be farming. You really need to be supporting your team and heading down for this dragon. They're actually almost all back up on the map. The Kha'Zix isn't. But if you watch this in without Fog of War, you will see that actually this was entirely stealable and very much worth fighting over. So Kayn does have Smite available, and it does 800 tree damage. It gets to 326. How much does your W do? 335. You could steal this. You could steal this. And that is basically GG. So, stupid little things, and I get that it's one of those slightly nebulous things that's going to be difficult to correct in general games, but it's definitely something to bear in mind that you, as the carry, if you're going to be playing AD carry, need to be playing safe and conservatively as best you can, and picking your moments to go in. You want to be dealing as much damage in a team fight as you can, and if you're not on the health to do that, then you really can't be there.